caused by a very petty thing of stealing granaries. We also see that the 9th war from the initial stage was caused by a very small thing. People were having a feast at the residence of one of the chiefs. And when they were having that feast, in the event of celebrating, conflicts came up and they began a fight. When that fight ensued, the colonial masters sided with one group, as we are going to look at the screen, sided with one group against another. And the siding of the colonial master, that is the British, when they sided with one group, it escalated the war. And for 2 years, the Xhosa were embroiled in a conflict, which eventually left them defeated. So we are going to see that. So when we look at this war, we see that took place between 1877 to 1879, and that a group of people called Mufengu and the Galeka, they continued in a quarrel. And this is what we have already said, they conflicted, and the problem came when there was a wedding. And when that feast was ongoing, a fight began. And we see that Kaleka or Galeka was the headman at whose wedding the initial fighting started. So the Mfengu were joined by the Tembu. These are now different tribes among the Bantu in the eastern side of the Cape. So we have the Mfengu who were joined by the Tembu, and then they drew the attention of the British. So the British joined them and fought against the other groups of the Xhosa who were Galekas. And that meant there was going to be, meant that the serious war took place. And this serious war took 2 years fighting. So another issue is, while there was fighting between 1877 and 1879, some Xhosa who had gone to work in the mines or who had gone to work on the farms of the white men returned home to settle down. But unfortunately, they found when all their land had been taken over by the whites. So they joined in the war, which had begun from fighting at a feast. They joined that war, fighting continued, but at the end of the day, the British defeated the Xhosa completely, and they ended up signing a treaty, which was a treaty of peace, and this was in 1879, and that treaty is called Crelly Treaty or Crelly Agreement. So this is now the wrap up of the last war, which was majorly caused because of a fight at a drinking place or a feast. And then it was escalated by the British joining one group, that is a Mfengu group, against the Kaleka group. Then later, the Xhosa who had gone to look for green pastures, when they returned, they fought when their land had been taken. They joined in the war, fought, but they were finally defeated. And peace was restored through an agreement called Crelly Agreement in 1879. Thank you very much. That's what we see in the last war. And after the last war, we shall be able to look at the effects of this war. I mean, of all the wars that took place in the Eastern frontier. Thank you very much. I submit.
Thanks very much, Madam Beatrice. Girls, if I may ask a question and then one of you puts up her hand to answer, and I say, explain the causes of the Mlanjeni uprising of 1850 to 1853. Explain the causes of Mlanjeni uprising of 1850, 1853. What do I exactly want?
Excuse me,
Can somebody please put up the hand?
Mr. Kagaba, I think it's a better
Yes.
if you rotate the screen and have a landscape.
Is that fine?
Much better. Much
Yes,
better.
that's okay.
Okay, thank you. Girls, if I might ask that question that explain the causes of the Mlanjan uprising of 1850 to 1853, what do I really want? Hello?
Pardon, teacher.
Explain the causes of the Mlanjan uprising of 1853 and 1850 to 1853. What does the question really want? Yes, Nicole. Yes, Nicole. Hello. If Nicole, can we listen from Daphne?
Teacher, I think they want what exactly caused the war to start. Like what made people start fighting. That's what I think.
Did your teachers teach you that Mlanjan uprising? So that you can give the causes? I'm asking, did they? Yes. Who can answer? Did you study that?
Yes.
When did you study that? So girls, to simplify that question, what I wanted to bring across is that the setter knows that you studied all the 9 Kafir wars. So when you look at what we call the Mlanjeni War or uprising of 1850 to 1853, that was the 8th Kafir War. So what I wanted to bring across is that all the causes of Kafir wars to a larger extent are the same. So if they ask you, for example, explain the causes of the 8th Kafir War, you will realize that largely the causes are the same, okay? Because these wars are 9. And when we were looking at these wars, we gave you names of different wars. For example, the 8th war, we said the Frontier War or Mlanjeni War. Then the 7th war, we called it the Mofengu Ga Chaleka War. That was the 9th. Then the 7th, I think, we called it the War of Axes. The War of Axes. Then I think the 5th one, I think the 4th one, the 3rd one. But basically, those last wars, the 7th, 8th, and 9th, we gave you the names of those wars, and then when we gave you the names, then the setter can decide in his own wisdom to choose one of the names and say, for example, explain the causes of the War of Axes of 1846 to 1847. So if you are not smart enough to know that this is one of the Kafir wars in South Africa, and it was the 7th war, and you give the background of that war, and then you give the general causes of Kafir wars, then you might be at a loss, and you leave the paper saying the question was a little bit hard. So girls, thank you. With that, teacher Namirembe Grace is going to take us through the effects of Kafir wars. Teacher Namirembe, are you ready?
Mr. Kagaba? Mr.
Yes.
Kagaba?
Yes.
Before she comes on board, I'm requesting that we just remind the girls that the Kafir wars has several names. There are several other names which refer to Kafir wars. Some of the names are Wars of dispossession, I know you have it, just mark that in your notebooks. Kosa Wars, Cape Frontier Wars, Wars of dispossession, we've said, Eastern Frontier Wars, Kosa Boers Wars, racial conflicts, Mlangen Uprising, the War of Axes. So all these names refer to the Kafiri Wars. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Beatrice. They should also read, we have that one in the introduction when we were giving them the introduction of Kafiri Wars. Teacher Namirembe Grace, are you ready with the effects?
Thank you, Mr. Kagaba. I don't know whether I'm very clear.
True.
Can you hear me? Okay, to the girls, I'm Teacher Grace. I'm going to take you through the effects of the Kafiri Wars. But before I look at the effects, let me throw more light on the Mulangeni War that has been discussed by Mr. Kagaba, that in case any has been set like that one or the 8th one, Mulangeni War, the emphasis or the trick on such a question is mainly in the introduction. How do you introduce? Will you just define the Kafiri Wars and leave the question like that, or you give a background of that war? You talk about the Sandile chief of the Gaika, that was 1850 to 1853. That was the 8th war. So they look at the introduction much as we're going to give the general causes of the Kafiri Wars. So that is the only trick with the search Kafiri Wars that are set in a particular. However, I'm going to look at the effects of the Kafiri Wars in South Africa. But since we started the Kafiri Wars, you are aware that they were 9 in number, they were 14 phases, they were 14 different years. For example, the first one was in 1779 to 1781, so it lasted for just 2 years. The second one, 1789 to 1793, it lasted for 4 years. The third one, 1799 to 1803,
Teacher Grace.
It lasted for 4 years.
Teacher Grace.
The fourth one,
Teacher Grace.
The fifth one, 1880. Yes, Beatrice.
Yeah, we are requesting, Teacher Grace, please. You are breaking a little bit, so we don't get you clearly. Could you find a way? Somehow you're breaking.
Okay. Let me see how I can do it. What about now? Can you hear me?
Quite well. Yes.
You can hear me?
Yes, you go on.
Because I'm going to deal with the effects of all the Kafiri Wars, I'm now reminding the girls, I'm taking them through all the 9 Kafiri Wars because most of the effects depended on which war. So I had started the 5th one, that was 1818 to 1819. It lasted for just 1 year. The 6th one, 1834 to 1835, 2 years. The 7th one, 1846 to 1847, 1 year. The 8th one, 1850, 1853, 3 years. And the last one, which was the 9th one, was in 1877 to 1879. It lasted for 2 years. So the effects of these wars depended on which war. But what the girls should know, the wars were between the Africans or the Xhosa against the Boers. Then later, the British came in. Therefore, we are beginning the effects. If a question is set like, what are the effects of the Kafiri Wars in South Africa? In most cases, we write a statement that says the effects were positive and negative. But if you analyze the effects of the Kafiri Wars in South Africa, most of the effects were negative. In fact, I must say, the Africans didn't benefit. There was nothing positive on the side of the Africans. So we go through these effects one by one. Number one, the Africans were defeated in these wars due to lack of good fighting tactics and weapons. Hence, they developed an inferiority complex after the wars, since they
Madam Grace.
defeated.
Madam Grace.
Yes.
Madam Grace.
Does it still break?
No, Angel is putting up her hand. Probably she did not understand the introduction. Can we give her a chance probably to listen to what she's saying?
Yes, let her ask.
Teacher Grace had said that the effects of the Kafiri wars were negative, that the Africans did not benefit in any way. So are the effects only facing like the Africans, like how did it affect the Africans and South Africa, or is it also part of how did it affect the British and the Boers as well?
Your Angel, when you look at these effects, of the Kafiri wars, it were mainly the Africans that were affected.
So teacher, when you say that they were only negative, okay, generally the question is asking about
It's okay.
I know what teacher is